So, how long is it until your business dies? No, I'm not actually pretending to be the Grim Reaper here, and I'm not actually really referring to you, just your business. So how long do you think your business can carry on without some sort of change? Now, I'm just going to try and describe for you something that was made famous by Charles Handy. It's something called the sigmoid curve. Now, if you start off with the traditional sort of the sort of bell jar type of diagram, flatten a little bit, you get a business life cycle with four phases in it. So on one side, you've got inception, where your business or your product starts. It grows, so the curve goes up a little bit. So increased productivity, increased profit, increased production, etc. And then it flattens off. So you have just a steady state, and this is the maturity phase. But then you can go down the other side and have decline, maybe even death. Now, we don't want to go down the other side, really, because of death. Now, the thing is, if you go past the maturity phase, what actually happens is you panic a bit, you try and take some sort of remedial action. But once you've gone into the decline phase of a business cycle, there is only a 10% chance that taking action will restore peak performance. Put it another way, the chance of failure is 90%. What Charles Handy actually suggested was that at the maturity phase, or just before, if we can predict where this flat bit is, this flat bit is also referred to in some Harvard Business Review articles as the stall point. It's where growth and profitability stalls. If we can predict this stall point, then what we should be doing is kicking off some sort of change program, maybe even creating another business product, or maybe even just another business, and going through the inception and growth phases from there. And if you pile these curves one on top of the other, you get a very sort of slightly wibbly S-curve, which Charles Handy called the sigmoid curve. It's very useful for explaining to people. But basically, if we can predict where things are going to start to stall and take action, we're in a much better position. We don't want the chance of failure to be 90%. So all this tells us that we do need to take action, but when and how? And I'm just going to focus on the when for now. During the 20th century, the average life cycle for a business was relatively long, approximately 75 years. Now, even if a company had the presence of mind to try and reinvent itself before the stall point, it would still have around 35 years to do so. Given the working life of an employee, it's very easy to imagine that very few employees, managers, or company directors would have experienced such a change. And the problem for us is that all these life cycles are getting shorter. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the average life cycle was only around 35 years, leaving us less than 18 years to prepare for the future. Now, this even sounds long enough, but still, relatively few will have experienced the changes that need to take place. Now, fast forward to 2020, and the life cycle is on average 6 years. Meaning that businesses are reinventing themselves every 3 years, or having to reinvent themselves every 3 years, with some high-tech companies doing so every year. This is so exhausting that many just do not bother. Their answer is to start a new business whilst making money out of the old one. Now, managing this isn't an impossible task, but please beware when buying in expertise to help navigate these issues. The tools and strategies that were used when dealing with a 75-year life cycle are not the appropriate ones for a 6-year life cycle. They would just take too long. For us, as a simple example, we need to employ dynamic budgeting, so all the budgeting tools of old are a bit archaic and far too inflexible. So, beware of innovation or change consultants who arrive carrying a bundle of old tools. So, if you'd like to know a little bit more about what and how we might anticipate, plan and execute change, then please do get in touch. But until next time, goodbye for now.